Hello everybody, the Great Dino Ranger here again, back with another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Jurassic World Dominion Ferocious Pack Einiosaurus. This is another figure that I got from Christmas, and we're going to continue with those reviews with this figure today. So, super exciting to get another ceratopsian from Mattel, and another small species at that, even though in real life it may not have been too small, but it's really cool to get a new species overall. So, here's a brief look at the packaging, nothing too special there. And here's the back of the packaging here, which again is nothing too special as well. You got some facts information, you got other dinosaurs in the line, the red velociraptor, Atrociraptor pantera, the second version of Moros, and the Einiosaurus. I have all those but the raptor, but yeah, pretty much have all of them for the most part, at least the ones I wanted most. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a closer look at this figure. Alrighty, everyone. So here we have the Einiosaurus out of the package. Overall, this is a very nice figure. It's nice to get another ceratopsian, again, and a small one at that. And this is actually a very interesting species for Mattel to choose, and it's a very interesting size that they actually put it in. I always, imagine Einiosaurus to be a more larger ceratopsian, kind of like the Roar Striker size range, those medium-sized ones, but they placed it in like the Ferocious Pack size range, which is pretty interesting, and Einiosaurus wasn't a very large ceratopsian to begin with, it was a pretty small one at that, and I guess kind of Mattel likes to round down or round up in terms of scaling for a lot of these dinosaurs. Like if it feels like it belongs more in the smaller range, then they'll put it there, or if it belongs in the larger range, they put it there. But it kind of just all depends on how big these animals were in real life. But other than that, it's really nice to get a new species. And one thing I want to bring up is that this dinosaur as a whole, just the way it's sculpted, the way it's colored, and just the overall way it looks, this looks like a Chap-May dinosaur. For those of you who don't know, Chap-May is a company, and in my opinion, they're famous for doing a lot of those cool-looking Animal Planet animal and dinosaur sets that were always released in Toys R Us stores, which those were my personal Jurassic Park style toys, since I didn't really grow up with a lot of Jurassic Park toys that can be found in the stores, and I always considered Animal Planet to be like my own versions of that. And looking at this dinosaur, the way that Mattel designed it, really reminds me of a Chap-May dinosaur, and that's not a bad thing. I loved the Chap-May dinosaurs, especially the ones from the Animal Planet line. They don't make them as good as they used to anymore, the ones that they sell at Target, but it reminds me of the old school ones that I always collected, and I think that's a really cool, not really a callback, but that's what it reminds me of, and I think that looks really cool. But taking a look at Einiosaurus, this is a ceratopsian that lived in North America during the Cretaceous period. And it's a very famous one due to the weird shaped skull. Not really weird, but it's a ceratopsian skull, but it has these two long horns on the top of its frill, and this very unique looking curved horn on the top of the nose here, which definitely, in my opinion, does not look like it'd be used for defense. It's probably more of a display feature to show off to other rivals or to attract a mate, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a very unique looking ceratopsian altogether. So taking a look at the sculpt here, Mattel has done it again with the sculpt on this ceratopsian. The sculpt is amazing. You got nice, classic pebble scales here on the top of the eye ridge here, which looks really great. And then the frill has a bunch of like this unique looking patterning or sculpt work going on the frill there, and it looks really cool. It's not really scales, but it kind of reminds me of like the tough skin of like a rhino or an elephant, the way it looked kind of like all cracked, like cracked skin a little bit, but it looks really cool. The sculpt detail is really nice. There's a little bit of sculpt work on the beak there, and the beak is slightly open, if you can kind of see, though it's not articulated, so it's kind of a cool little sculpting choice there. Nostrils are nicely painted, and here you got the horn nicely painted with all these little lines. Same with the horns a little bit, so very nice ceratopsian sculpt there. And here at the bottom, you got some nice, interesting looking texturing going on there, and some more classic pebble scales on the neck. Same with back here on the back of the frill, if I can get it to focus. A lot more of that famous, there we go, famous pebble scales too, so very nice. And the head too is pretty interesting altogether, because it doesn't really match the actual animal that existed in real life. It's kind of stylized to kind of fit Mattel's style when they're making these toys. But again, it's Jurassic Park. They're not supposed to look entirely accurate. And this does look like what a Jurassic Park Einiosaurus would look like. But yeah, it just looks really cool, because the frill is not like a perfect round shape. It has like all these protruding portions of the skull or the frill that are sticking out, which makes it look unique and stands out from the rest of the ceratopsians. Moving on to the body here, you got some nice wrinkly texture on the skin here on the arms here. Some nice muscle definition there, and the hands are nicely sculpted. Fortunately, no paint on the toe or finger claws, but that's okay. We're kind of used to that at this point. And then here at the top, you got some more of that rough texture skin with a mix of some pebble scales. You got some more muscle definition here, and you can see a little bit of the ribs there, and some more of that rough looking texture on the bottom, which kind of continues all the way down to the tip of the tail, which looks really nice. And here at the leg, you got some more texture, muscle definition, and you get some nice little osteoderm bumps here at the top of the leg here, and some that are kind of sprinkled around right here. And then the cool thing is about this figure is this armored looking design on the top of its back. Like, it's kind of a mix of some osteoderms, but they're kind of very armored like, in my opinion. That's what it looks like. So kind of similar to an ankylosaur, but more probably on the crocodilian side, which I think is a pretty cool looking creative artistic decision from Mattel. I like when they do that with a lot of their dinosaurs. They give some of these species things that we would have never thought to add on these dinosaurs. And I think this is an example of one of those. These cool little armor-looking ridges or design on its back. Looks really cool. And you got some more scales that kind of continue throughout the main tail. And so yeah, very decked out and some detail on this Einiosaurus. I'm very impressed with it, and looks really cool. Color-wise, the colors are very nice too. A very interesting color choice. I've always associated the Einiosaurus with like these browns or reds or just very dark colors, and to give it like a blue color is very different and kind of new and fresh for me, so I'm really digging it. It looks really nice. You got really nice, kind of like a light blue throughout the main body here, and a dark blue for the head, which kind of makes it pop. It makes the head pop against the body. And you got some nice little bright orangish, yellowish patterns or designs on the frill here, at least where the two holes would be on the skull, which stands out pretty well. So you can definitely see this whole head here would be used for display purposes rather than combat. So it looks really nice. And you got a little bit nice of a red tip on this nose horn here, which again makes it stand out. Interesting too is that it's more faded on this one, and this one just looks like it's just literally just painted on there. I like the faded side more. That's probably just a factory defect or something like that. But yeah, the fading definitely kind of flows with the paint a little bit more, rather than it just looking like someone just literally just took a brush and just painted it on there. The eyes are nicely painted as well, with a nice yellow and a black pupil. Makes it stand out against the blue, against the dark blue as well. And you got this nice minty green light color here, which is very interesting. It's only on the back legs and on the underbelly. Would have been nice to see this kind of continue all throughout the underside, at least throughout the whole body, and maybe a little bit on the bottom of the jaw here. But a very interesting color choice for this dinosaur, but I like it. The beaks aren't really painted. Would have been nice if it could, maybe just like a different shade of a blue or a gray or something. Same with the horns. It would have been nice if they're all kind of painted, but because the head is made of a darker color at least in person, not on camera. It really doesn't matter at all. They kind of look like they're painted already. But like I said, it looks much better in person. But yeah, the colors are very nice. The detail is very nice. Very pleased with this figure, and I'm not super happy to have this species. Articulation-wise, much like your Ferocious pack dinosaurs, the head can go up and down. So very nice up and down movements there. It can also swivel. Basically 360. You kind of have to move the legs so that they don't get in the way of the horns. But really nice range of movement on the head. This looks really good for ceratopsians. And the arms here, they're very basic for this line. They just move forwards and backwards, probably 360, and same with the hind legs. So very basic, movement there. And then we got a rotation of the tail. And then we got the scan code right here. And yeah, that's probably it for the articulation. All right, to move on to comparisons, here it is next to a human. Which, yeah, Einiosaurus, I know for sure, was not this small. It was definitely a little bit bigger, maybe about the size of a larger cow or something like that. But it definitely was bigger than this. I'm just not too familiar with the actual size dimensions. But overall, this looks like a nice little small ceratopsian scale. And then we'll compare it with the other small ceratopsians that Mattel has given us. So this is not every single ceratopsian. These are mainly just the smaller species that we've been getting throughout the years. So first up, we have the Zuniceratops, which that one is a bit bigger than this, which is definitely not accurate in real life. The Zuniceratops was definitely slightly smaller than the Einiosaurus. But other than that, they look really well together. And then next up, we have the Protoceratops, which look very good. But again, Protoceratops would have been much smaller than the Einiosaurus. But, it's nice just to get multiples of all kinds of smaller species. So, yeah, they look pretty good for the most part. And then we got the Styracosaurus, which are very similar in size. But I'm also very surprised to get a Styracosaurus in a smaller scale. To me, it always seemed like a bigger ceratopsian, but it also was not very big in real life. And then last but not least, here we have it next to the Cosmoceratops, which is another favorite of mine. And they look very nice together too. Very similar in scale. And I think they might have been similar in scale in real life as well. So this kind of matches perfectly, even though they probably should have been just slightly bigger. But other than that, they look really nice. And here is the Einiosaurus compared with all of them all at once. So this is a very nice little range of smaller ceratopsian species. And I think it's really cool to see a whole, just a whole diversity of different kinds of species of animals part of the same family, which is really cool. So yeah, they all look really nice together. Alrighty everyone, so that's about to wrap it up for this review. For my final thoughts, I am really happy and satisfied with this figure. It's nice to get another new species, especially a species of ceratopsian. I love the detail. I love the the sculpt, the colors. It just looks really nice, and it's cool to get an Einiosaurus for the Jurassic Park toy line. And I'm looking forward to seeing more smaller ceratopsians in the future from Mattel. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys again for the next one.